supporting his upon her shoulder. Bellomus looked down at her upturned face, her eyes still narrowed, still smiling, and he kissed her. He raised his hand from her shoulder and inspected a finger and thumb, shining with moisture from her clothes. "You're in need of a fire." They turned away and into the dark. The candle fought silently with the void, briefly revealing the pool in the centre of the hall into which water fell in sheets from an aperture in the centre of the roof, and then, as they moved on down a corridor, illuminating faded frescoes on the plastered walls. The Queen turned her head as they passed to follow one of a boar being skewered by a spear, then another of a bull-necked man in profile, surrounded by leaves and dancing figures. The plaster on which it had been painted had shrunk and cracked, and the Queen could smell the dust it gave off as it silently disassembled. At the end of this corridor was a more consistent glow, and the two figures emerged into another stone room. This one had a hearth crudely chiselled into a wall, with one wooden chair by the fire that burned within, and another drawn up to a glassless window on the other side of the room. "You were awake?" asked the Queen, glancing at the fire. "Watching the lightning." Bellomus steered her into the seat by the fire and snuffed out the candle between finger and thumb. He crossed the room to fetch the chair by the window and a blanket that lay next to it, bringing both back to the woman. He gave her the blanket and drew up the chair beside her. "So what did the king say?" he asked. "He said you're going to war." Bellomus let out a slow breath. "We're invading." She raised her eyebrows a little in response, staring into the hearth. Bellomus laughed. At first a gentle chuckle, until he lost control of it and it became a full-throated roar of triumph. It carried him onto his feet, and he turned towards the Queen to perform a little bow. "Well done, Your Majesty," he said, and he leaned forward to kiss her again, his fingers digging into her shoulders. He broke away, but did not resume his seat. "How did you manage that?" The praise ran off her. "We both managed it. You scared him wicked. The fiery snakes and the flooding put the fear of God into him, and I directed both those fears." The fiery snakes. The night before, a cool evening with a clear sky, the sound of wails and screams had drawn Queen Aramilla to her window. Looking out, she saw a sky stained unearthly green, as though a veil had descended from the stars, swaying and billowing in a breeze that stirred this apparition alone. It intensified, resembling a giant pot of emerald ink that had been spilled among the stars, flowing in rivers from one horizon to another. Aramilla had watched, entranced and awed, as the city beneath her began to cry. The streets emptied, some people fleeing for their houses, others to the church to pray for deliverance from whatever this omen signified. It had gone on through the night until the clouds preceding the storm rolled in, obscuring the sight. "They were beautiful," said Bellomus. He sank into his seat again. "They did not look like an ill omen to me, but I'm glad if the king saw things differently." "Well, they were not an ill omen for you," replied the Queen. "They may yet be an ill omen for the king. I made sure he saw it that way anyway. The flooding, the plague, and now the snakes in the sky. He thinks God is furious. I'm impressed. Was he not worried by launching a campaign so late in the season? He was more worried at the thought of enduring a winter with God's anger unchecked." She placed a hand on his cheek. "But I've sent you to war, my soldier. Don't make me regret it." She sounded a little amused, but he grasped her hand anyway. "You won't," he said. "I always come back." "Bring me something back from beyond the Abyss?" Her pupils were wide, drinking in the sight of him. He glanced at her. "What should you like? The Anakim have no treasures. They don't value anything that can't be put to use." "What do they have?"